This is a Channel Africa podcast. You can also get Channel Africa on satellite, PAS10, DSTV Audio Bouquet 802, and OpenView Bouquet, Channel 628.
It was important that it was done on the 9th month of the 9th day or something that signified the 9 months of a pregnancy.
What are the facts and statistics around FASD prevalence?
Well, we have the highest rates in the world, and I think what astonishes most people is that that exposure to relatively low levels of alcohol during early pregnancy can have such bad results. So, because a baby's liver is one of the last organs to develop any alcohol whatsoever, can seriously affect their development. And you're looking at only around 16 drinks in the first 6 to 7 weeks of pregnancy. And that's just over 2 drinks a week. This all happens before the mother realizes that she's pregnant. And then, of course, once you know she's pregnant, she stops drinking. That's assuming she's not an alcoholic and she can stop drinking. But already her child, because of that 2 drinks a week, may experience learning difficulties, hyperactivity and attention problems, as well as anxiety and depression. So if you're trying to fall pregnant, the message is just don't drink.
And how would you then say the impacts of FASD are? How serious are the impacts on the individual and also at society at large? South Africa does have a huge drinking problem.
Yeah. So the more the mother drinks during pregnancy, the worse the effect is likely to be on an individual level. The more severe symptoms can range from difficulties in communicating, stunted physical growth, poor eyesight and hearing. Some of the babies have incredibly wide-set, narrow eyes and a smaller than normal head, and they even have internal organ damage. So at around 11% of children born in South Africa have some sort of fetal alcohol syndrome disorder. We have the highest rate in the world, and that rate is 14 times higher than the global average. The problem is so common in the Western and Northern Cape that in some of the rural areas, it's estimated to be around 72% of school children have it. So it really is just astonishing. And our government's response to this crisis at policy and practical levels is unclear. Some UK studies have shown that it costs £2.9 million. That's an eye-watering just under 60 million rand to raise one child with fetal alcohol syndrome across their lifespan. And another Canadian study said that FAS youths were 19 times more likely to end up in jail.
Are there any treatments to this?
No, the results are permanent, and I think it's really important that we get down to the root causes. So, we shut down our worlds for the COVID pandemic, which to date has killed 102,000 South Africans. Yet we have as many as 6.5 million people, that's more than 10% of our population, thought to be affected by fetal alcohol syndrome. So, these numbers point to addiction not being a major public health concern, but it's the pandemic of our time. And yet it's so poorly understood and so stigmatized. So, we have the highest number of people living with HIV in the world. We have 7.5 million. Femicide is 5 times higher in South Africa than the global average. Our drug and alcohol abuse is twice the world norm. We have 55,000 children living in child-only or child-headed households. One in 3 children in Gauteng, listen to this, it's astonishing. 1 in 3 children in Gauteng, which is the province that is the wealthiest city in Africa, Joburg, they suffer from stunted growth. 1 in 3 children are quite literally starving. We experience a rate of 115 rapes every day. Interpol has named us the rape capital of the world. Now, picture a young female who's growing up in a community with these kind of conditions. How good has her education been? What emotional skills has she been given to navigate the world? Has she been raped? Has she been given any trauma counseling around the rape? Have the conditions that made her vulnerable to rape changed? Has she got HIV? Has she got any work at all? Never mind any career prospects. So people that are living in these kind of desperate circumstances, do you think using drugs and alcohol is normal? Falling pregnant is quite common. So, without us beginning to get down to these root causes and conditions, I have no idea how we're going to deal with all of these symptoms. It's a widespread, prolific, endemic problem. We have to collectively come together and do something.
You are correct. The impact is really massive. What other ways can we use to create awareness, to try to, not only reverse but slow down the rate, the fast rate at which we are seeing fetal alcohol syndrome?
Well, I think it starts before that. I think for every dollar, there were many studies in America, and for every dollar spent on treatment, between $4 and $9 was saved in public health and public safety and incarceration and legal and people getting back to work and being responsible, productive members of society and paying tax. So a lot of this stuff revolves around addiction, because if a mother doesn't know she's pregnant and she's doing mild drinking, the consequences on her fetus and the baby are quite mild. What we're talking about here is extreme alcohol abuse for the full length of the pregnancy of desperate people who cannot stop drinking, despite the fact they know that it's hurting their baby. So if we look at something like the rape rate of 115 a day, I guarantee you that these rapes are committed by people who are intoxicated or are addicted or have sexual trauma themselves that they're perpetuating. If we don't get down to, it's not about, yes, some of these people have to be incarcerated, in fact, the bulk of them, but unless we're getting down to help those people to deal with their trauma, they're going to traumatize other people who are going to go on and just pass on the family heirlooms and traumatize more and more people. So we have to have a comprehensive look at this. And for me, the one thread that runs through it all is addiction. We have to treat addiction as a pandemic and a national problem, that if we prioritize, the quality of life for all South Africans is going to get better. The crime rate is going to go down. We're just across the board going to do better.
That podcast was courtesy of Channel Africa, the African Perspective.